And thank you for joining us tonight. Really appreciate everybody taking time out of their busy schedule to join us for the MSW virtual information session. The event should take probably around 45 minutes, I would say. We have an opening presentation that highlights the program and kind of takes you behind the scenes, and then we will be having a student panel afterwards. If you have any questions, there's no need to wait till the end. You can feel free to put them in the chat or in the Q&A, and I will certainly relay them to the group to be answered. This is being recorded, and I will be sure to post a recording on the MSW website and on the Bloom U YouTube channel as well. I'll probably send it out via email. So whether you are watching us live or you're watching the recording, again, I really want to say thank you, and we appreciate your time. Before I go any further, if we could start with some introductions, though, and we can start with Professor Carson.
Hi, everybody. I actually don't go by professor, but thank you for giving me that promotion. I'm Tammy Carson. I am the director of MSW Field Education. So I will have the opportunity to work with anyone who comes into the program as an MSW student, because I oversee the field practicum component of the program. And I have been doing field education for longer than I probably care to admit, about 19 years. And I've been with Bloomsburg for a total of about 6 years, but there was a break in the middle when I was at a different university. So we're really happy to have everybody on this evening. Thanks for coming.
Great, thanks, Tammy. Dr. Luca-Beche, sorry.
That's okay. That's a little better than the students. Yeah, I'm Dr. Viviana Luca-Beche, and this is my first virtual event with Bloomsburg. And I teach in the BSW program, and I see some of my students are here, so I can't see you, but you could just virtually wave at me because I am excited to see some of those names. And then oh, yay. And I also, and I'm excited that we have our MSW students, because I started with the MSW program. That's why I was hired at Bloomsburg University, but combined with my clinical and teaching experience, I have about 20 years, and I started when I was 12. Just so you all know, I was like just brilliant, just like Tammy, you did too. So yeah, this is great that I get to. I'm so excited they've allowed me to do this and to be able to promote the MSW program. My BSW students know that I always shamelessly plug the MSW program because I think it is fantastic. So thanks for the opportunity of allowing me to talk about it.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Luca-Beche. Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I am one of the advanced standing MSW students. I started the program back in July. I also graduated with my BSW from Bloomsburg University back in May of 2020. So I'm super excited to be back at Bloomsburg University, and I'm also super excited to have this opportunity.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Sarah. Nathan.
Hi, everyone. I am one of the MSW students. I was the first cohort, I think, is the generalist cohort. So then we have now merged with the others, and the timing's kind of all evening out now. So I went to Susquehanna University undergrad. I did not go for social work, though. I went for political science, psychology, and had some neuroscience coursework. So I came in, I started law school twice and hated it, and found really a home in the MSW program because of the policy courses and the policy practice that we get to go through. I think we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Started twice.
I did, yeah. I thought I would do it the second time.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a really cool story to how you found your way here. Excellent. Joshua.
Hi, my name is Josh Escalante. Just like Sarah, I am in the accelerated program. Started in July. I'm currently a graduate assistant at the LGBTQ Center, being involved at on campus, doing some work placement there. And then I also graduated with Sarah in my undergrad at May of 2020. And I'm excited to be here.
Great, thank you. We appreciate that. So we will go ahead and jump into the presentation. Let me just share my screen here. So we have a nice wintry photo, although that might not necessarily be true to form. I think the weather is supposed to warm up a little bit this weekend, so let's enjoy the winter while we still can. But the first question kind of justifies everyone attendance tonight. Why the MSW program?
Viviana, were you going to take that one?
Yes, I thought Tom was.
Okay.
We did not practice this. Okay. So why the MSW program? I can tell you, I can share a personal story with you, and it's one I share with, so if you were in my undergraduate classes, you're going to have to hear this one again. Sorry. But when I started out in my career, I started out as I was majoring in psychology. And after a very frustrating class, I went into the dean's office and I said that this was just not for me. It really wasn't teaching me what I wanted to learn and guide me where I wanted to go in my career. She asked me a few questions and she said, you know, I think you're suited for a social work degree. And I never looked back after that. I got my bachelor's of arts in social work. Actually, the BSW did not exist then. And then I went on to get my MSW and then my PhD in social work. I supervised students that were social workers and students that were counseling psychology students when I was at another position. And the question I always got asked is, do you ever regret your choice to not stay in psychology? And I said, I never have regretted getting my MSW and having a career in social work. The MSW is a degree, and the way it's presented and it's taught at Bloom is a generalist degree that will give you so much variety and so much diversity that if you start something, you let's just say you want to do hospital social work, you want to work in the psychiatric unit, and you decide after a year or two you don't like it, you have an MSW, a generalist MSW, you can do something else. The field of social work and the field of human services demands a degree in social work. We get first preference, whether military, whether in hospitals. Most of the time you will get preferential hiring because you have that MSW. What we used to call, at least, I don't know, Tammy, if this happened when you were in school, but it was called the Cadillac of master's degrees at one point. And Tom, I know you can't play favorites, but that is my personal story. And that's why I think you cannot go wrong with an MSW. In fact, if you decide to follow and pursue your MSW, not only can you not go wrong, you will absolutely be rewarded and feel just such satisfaction in your career as I have. I'm confident of it.
And for the Cadillac of graduate degree, that's impressive. I've never heard that before.
That's what they used to tell me. It's the Cadillac. And when you look at it, Tom, when it comes to licensure, when it comes to job opportunities,
yes,
I don't know of another master's degree that gives you such variety and such diversity and opportunity.
Yep. Absolutely. And actually, we do have our first question already. Thank you, Sarah. Have we received our MSW accreditation yet? And are there any updates?
I'll take that one.
Okay, I was about to go ahead.
We will be accredited in February, 1 year from now. We are moving along through the accreditation process with our accrediting body, the Council on Social Work Education, exactly as we had intended. It is a 3-year process, so we are on point. Anybody that starts our program in July, whether you are advanced standing or the full program, and we'll talk about the differences in a few minutes, anyone who starts our program in July will finish when the program is fully accredited. There will be accredited before you graduate. The students that are on screen with us this evening, they will have a fully accredited degree as soon as we achieve our accreditation. So they'll have to wait a little bit, but their degree will be no different than ones that are awarded in the future. The only difference for them is they will have to wait for 9 months to be able to sit for the licensure exam. But the update is we're moving along, and we have gotten no feedback that anything is going to change with that date.
So February 2024. So anyone who's watching in the audience or is watching the recording will graduate from the, an accredited MSW program. And for those of you where this is the first you're hearing of this, the MSW program at Bloomsburg is new. So that's why, it's not like we had accreditation and lost it or something. This is It's a new program that started, was it 3 years ago, 2 years ago?
2021.
20, all right, so all right, not even, so 2021. So we are going through the initial accreditation process, which again will be completed by the time you all are either in your first or second semester. So that's great news. That's an outstanding question. Very good question. So, and I know, I'm sorry, and Dr. Lucabetti, did you have something else to add?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that what you were saying, it's not that we're pending for any reason. It's just that the accreditation process does take 3 years. So it's a bit of a catch-22. In order for us to have an accredited program, we have to have a program. And yeah, so it's going so well. There is no reason to believe that we won't get full accreditation by that goal date.
Yep, every MSW program that there is has had to go through this process
Yes.
at some point. Yep, that's great to hear. So I know, Tammy, you had mentioned advanced standing and the general admission program. Would you be able to kind of delineate the two different programs? And
Actually, that was mine.
Oh, yeah,
I'll
go
let
right
you
ahead,
have
by
it.
all means.
Yep.
We split the PowerPoint up. Okay, so the advanced standing, which Tammy, it's the specialized. We now call it the specialized.
Yeah, I think it's still called advanced standing, but the students are in the specialization year.
Yeah, okay. Don't mind us that we have confusion with the terminology, but let me just tell you this. So the advanced standing program is what Sarah and Josh are in right now, and it allows students with a BSW degree and good grades. The GPA is 3.2. However, to apply, I think later on in the presentation we will talk about the different there's a different application process if you're applying for advanced standing versus traditional. I'm also chairing the admissions committee for the MSW program, so I have learned quite a bit. And so we will talk about the application process, but this is just I think this is a really nice opportunity for students who are getting their BSW degree, who want to not have to take the full program. No, there is not actually. I see a question, somebody's asking, is there an additional cost related to the advanced standing program? No, there isn't. In fact, I'm told, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this publicly, but here I am going to get recorded, that even if you have difficulties paying for the application fee, please reach out to one of us at the end of the presentation, and Tom, and we can help you.
Reach out to me. Yes, we call that a $35 scholarship. We will waive the
we can do that.
opportunity.
I just found out about that, Tom, by the way. So I didn't know if it was a secret, if I was supposed to advertise it. But anyway,
Cat's out of the bag now, so no.
I just let it out of the bag.
That's okay. No, anyone who attends tonight will be waiving the application fee.
So yeah, you guys, now's a good time to apply. But anyway, if you struggled with some classes and maybe your GPA wasn't as high as we're asking for it to be, I would encourage you, if you meet the criteria, to apply to advanced standing anyway, because we do review applications as a whole, and we check everything. And and like I said, we'll talk about what is to be included in your application later on in the program. But I just wanted to let you know that this is just a really good opportunity. Sarah and Josh, I think they started in July and they're graduating in May. So that's really okay, as you can start now, Sarah. If you are in your senior year, you can start applying right now. When is the right time to apply? Somebody is asking, when is the right time to apply? Well, I've had students, and I think one of them might even be in the audience right now, who applied as early as in her senior year. Yes, the advanced standing program is only for BSW students. That is something, and that is a standard that's set forth by our accreditation. It is not something that Bloomsburg University sets forth. It is our accreditation, the CSWE accreditation.
Great questions, by the way. Keep them coming.
Yeah, keep them coming, because I just want, Tom, if you could field some of those questions for me, because while I'm talking, I can't talk and read at the same time. So if you can jump in, let me know.
Yeah, I can do that.
But keep the questions coming, please. The traditional program is the program that Nathan is in. And somebody asked if you can join with a bachelor's degree in psychology. Absolutely. Your time it's a 2-year program, which is still fantastic for a 60 credit master's. And we'll talk a little bit more about the courses, I think in the next slide, Tom. But anyway, the MSW program is great for any undergraduate major that wants to really make a difference in our community and wants to work in human services, or maybe wants to do some macro level work. Nathan wanted to work in policy. He's focusing on macro, and we will talk more about that.
I'm sorry, Dr. Lukabetchi, we had a question from Karina here. Does it have to be a 3.2 in your major?
Yes, but again, is that, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, Talitha? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yes, keep in mind, here's what I would encourage you, thank you. Here's what I would encourage you to do. I would encourage you to apply. I know that since I've been chairing this committee, we do look at everything. And so let's just say a student didn't do very well in a math course, let's just say, or, you know, and that math course may have brought their whole GPA down, but they did really well in their BSW program, in their BSW courses. We do take all of that into consideration. So I would say this: if you're uncertain, but you're going to graduate the BSW, you're close to the GPA, you have your letters of recommendation, and we'll talk about, again, we're going to talk about the requirements closer to the end. I would encourage you to apply to advanced standing. If what we could do is, if you don't quite meet the requirements, but we can also provisionally accept you in the traditional program with the understanding that maybe with the understanding that it could be that we're asking you to complete a course, we're asking you to improve your GPA. Because we're a small program, we have the luxury. This is another reason why I love to promote Bloomsburg's program, is because every student is an individual, and we look at every application and we look at the person. So I would encourage you to apply anyway. Riley. Hi, Riley. Okay, Riley, you're sharing the deadline Riley, that is the deadline, but we are always taking applications. So I would encourage you to get the application ASAP because we start in the summer. If you want to start in summer, I would certainly encourage you to get your application in. Give us a little bit of time to look at it, especially if you're not sure, should I be applying to the advanced standing? Should I be applying to the traditional program? I would encourage you to, if you have your BSW, you have the GPA, you're close to the GPA, you have all the other requirements, apply to the advanced standing, and we will review your application.
And here's the other factor for applying early. It allows you to begin applying for graduate assistantships earlier in the process, while there are a lot of GA positions available. GAs, again, grad assistants, or we call them GAs, they are part-time positions on campus where the university pays part of your tuition and gives you a stipend, a paycheck, and you work either 10 or 20 hours per week. So they are outstanding positions to have on campus for a grad student, but you have to have applied and have been admitted. So again, there is some value to starting and completing the application process sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom.
And I'm sorry, Tasha had another question. Do we offer weekend classes?
Well, that's, we did in the summer. Nathan, there was a weekend. So our schedule is, in the summer we have more flexibility, but to my memory, there was a summer class offered on a Saturday. But it's not a regular option. No, so it's not a regular option. It doesn't mean that once in a while we might not have an offering depending on the semester, but during the school year, no.
That was an elective too, correct?
That was an elective, yeah.
I'd forgotten until you said that.
We can go, there we go. Okay, so I was talking, if there are weekdays, what time are the classes? Okay, so that's interesting. You should ask what time the classes are. We have changed the schedule a little bit. The classes start in the afternoon, and depending on what year, and depending on, so right now, the advanced standing students are taking classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting at 4 o'clock, because they have a field seminar as well, right, Tammy?
Yeah, every other week.
Every other week, but Tuesday and Thursdays. I know this because I teach the advanced standing this semester. So this semester we're in class from 6:30 to 9:15. No, I'm sorry, what time does the, there's an elective before that, there's the aging elective. So what I guess what I'm trying to say is the schedule will vary somewhat, but for the most part, you're in class either Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday, starting around 4, ending around 9 o'clock.
So a couple more questions, Dr. Lucabeche. Does the amount of fieldwork hours change between the advanced standing or the traditional program, since advanced standing is for 1 year?
Can we table that one until we get to the slide on field?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then a follow-up question. So is this only a full-time in-person during the day program?
It's not only full-time, no. We do have the part-time option. We do
And-
have some students, but it is there. The only option that we have for online is our electives in the summer.
So let me ask you this. Could a student who is working full-time at a traditional 8 to 5 job be able to complete this degree? I think that's kind of what the question
I'm going
is.
to say yes, but you know what I'm also going to say is let's wait until you hear from our current students, because they are all working full-time.
Oh,
Can we do that? Can we defer
Yes.
to that? Can we wait? So I will get to your question, but in this case, while I can say yes, I think it's much more valuable for you to hear it from a person that's actually going through it right now.
it's a good segue.
Okay. Let's segue
So-
then. You got to take
Yes.
the next slide.
Oh, sure. Yep, you got it. Yep.
And the next one. These are just
Oh.
the courses of the differences between the foundation year and the advanced year. You can see we're a generalist program. It's a very, very well-rounded program. We go from micro to macro research, and we go through the whole gamut: research, policy, practice. So we can talk more about the courses if any of you have any questions, but I do want to give our student panelists a chance to share and answer the question of how do they manage full-time. And I would like them to share a little bit about what they're doing full-time, and then how they're managing their classes. And maybe you can talk about how wonderful your professors are.
Well,
So
and here's the
please go to
thing,
next
they're
slide.
currently grading your classes, so this would definitely be the time to heap some praise on them, because again, they're still grading your tests and things like that, so.
Okay, I did see that there was a question about electives, but can we come back to that one as well? Because I think again that our 3 current students can also address what some of the electives have been that they've taken. So we won't forget that one.
Oh,
Nope, you're good. To talk about field experience, and hopefully this will answer the question that was asked about the difference between the generalist year and the specialization year. So at the generalist year, all students who come in to the 2-year program will do a minimum of 900 hours of field practicum across the 2 years of the program. So it ranges anywhere between 14 and 18 hours per week. It actually can drop closer to 12 hours per week, depending on how your time is structured. And then all the way up to actually even a little bit more than 18 per week if we have a student like Josh, who is on here with us tonight, who's doing a GA position as his field placement. All of our students will have supervision in their field placement with an MSW. If the agency where the student is interning does not have an MSW, part of my responsibility as the field director is to help find somebody who can provide that supervision to you. Currently, a lot of the faculty are doing that, but there may be somebody else out in the community or on campus who may be able to provide that as well. We do allow students to do a work-based placement. So again, Sarah and Nathan both are having experiences like that. So if you are working full-time and you are in a social service agency that would be qualified, and it's an agency that has an agreement with us, we may be able to work something out for you like that. So and I know somebody had asked a question, I think it was Taisha had asked the question about working and attending class and so forth. Being able to do your field placement in your workplace might be really helpful for you to kind of ease that pressure. At the generalist level, and I almost said foundation, Viviana, at the generalist level, you will complete 400 hours of field practicum. So 200 and 200 across 2 semesters. Those of you that are sitting on this session or watching it at another time who already have a BSW or are just now finishing, that 400 hours might sound very familiar to you. So you don't have to repeat that first 400 hours that you have done in your BSW program. You do 500 at the specialization year, again, across 2 semesters. So it's 250 and 250. I do not expect any of you to commit this to memory, and we do a very in-depth field orientation once you've been accepted into the program, and you know, we answer a lot more questions in depth. But just as a few examples of field placements where we've had students, where we currently have students, and these may sound more familiar to people who are local to Bloomsburg, but Geisinger Health System, multiple departments, multiple locations, CMSU, which is Columbia, Montour, Snyder, and Union counties. It's mental health, drug and alcohol, early intervention, crisis intervention, a variety of services out into the community. We have had students at Department of Corrections. We have student currently with the United Way, the Susquehanna Valley United Way, and other more macro type settings. And we have relationships with a variety of departments on Bloomsburg's campus. Josh, as he mentioned, is in one of those. He's with the LGBTQ Resource Center. We have somebody in our TRIO Center. We had somebody in the Women's Resource Center in the past. We have students in alcohol and other drugs. So there are, and we had somebody with athletics last year. So there are a lot of opportunities within the university itself. So really, it runs the gamut. We have relationships with so many agencies. There's not enough room on a slide to include all of them.
Great, thank you.
And then the goal, Viviana, were you going to say something? I'm sorry.
Sorry, I thought that was my slide. Sorry.
Oh, no, you can take it.
No, it's yours. Yours.
I was going to say that field placement kind of leads you into a variety of career options, kind of circling back to the very first question that Viviana was responding to about why the MSW, because there are so many different opportunities. There are so many career options that you can look at. I mean, if you look at this list, it's a very small list. It doesn't even begin to encapsulate the types of work that you can do with an MSW. I have former students who have worked in state government. I actually have a former student who is a federal judge now, if that, I'm gonna throw that out there now because that's just really impressive to me. So anyway, did you want to talk anything else about career stuff, Viviana?
I think you're right. So I would ask the question, how many of you want a Cadillac? Raise your hand, get an MSW, because yeah, the list is, Tammy's absolutely correct. The list is so much, could be so much longer. There are so many other areas that you can go into in social work.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And I think, to me, this is one of the more surprising slides about basically the financial investment you're making in an MSW and what you can basically what you expect for your ROI. Average starting salary. Again, there's going to be a huge demand for mental health workers and especially social workers and social workers with an MSW. One of my questions for you, Tammy and Viviana, is what is the financial incentive to entering the job market with an MSW versus a BSW? Let me ask you this. Can you expect to be paid more with the MSW?
I think when I was looking at statistics yesterday, I think it was anywhere between 13 and 25% difference between BSW and MSW, depending on the state, depending on the area of practice that you're in, but it is a significant difference.
And for those of you that are interested in clinical work, advanced clinical work, the MSW leads to an LCSW, and that is in high demand. as far as clinical practice, and that will pay more. Not, but there was a question in the audience. What is the teacher-student ratio? Well, that's a good question, because Nathan, it was 1 to 4 the first semester, right? So this semester we have, I think it's one of my largest classes. I have 11 students in my class. But I do think even at the undergraduate level, our professors, we are very good at providing that individualized attention. But even at the master's level, much more so. But I do want to give our students a chance to talk about that, Tom, if I don't know if we can get to that slide there, where they can talk about the demands of the schedule, because I know there was a question of, can we do this if we're working full time? And maybe they can share more about what their experiences are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think that
Nathan, Sarah, or Josh, I don't know what order.
I was going to offer to jump in while we get to the slide.
You go ahead, Nathan.
Did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
So everybody else on the slideshow, when we went through our first information session, it really seemed like a lot of information with the field, with the jobs, with the schedule. And the biggest thing I'm going to say about Bloomsburg, and just also, I should have said I graduated college in 2015. So I came back to Bloomsburg. So I went to Susquehanna, a private university, and I ended up coming back to Bloomsburg. And I was really nervous, to be honest with you. I was like, it's a state school, it's a bigger school. It was bigger than what I was used to. And Tammy and I have met regularly with all the professors regularly. I can't emphasize the amount of attention we receive, both on our papers, on our feedback, on our field placements, and all of that. But I want to emphasize some points that we also had, just to kind of go through maybe a comprehensive picture. So I graduated school, went into pain management, workers' compensation. I had direct patient access. I helped set up surgery tables. I helped, take people back, hook them up to machines, helped in physical rehab. And then I advocated for workers' compensation policy. After that, a job in elections came up. I took over as an elections administrator, and now I'm actually the county administrator for Northumberland County. And the reason I give you all that breadth of experience is because I had a lot of undergrad experiences where, like, you need to focus, you need to focus, you need to focus. And for some of us as students and some of us as people, as professors, I mean, that breadth is just as important as the depth. And to me, this is like the all-inclusive degree. And to Dr. Lucabette's point, the LCSW is really what I'm after. I really want to open my own private practice and specialize in patient populations while I advocate for policy and am involved in politics and administration. So that's just kind of my comprehensive look at the program. So it's giving me the opportunity to take electives like DSM and diagnostics, look at drugs and alcohol, go into leadership. And the last thing I'll throw into my experience there was the pairing of Gadenzia, which Tammy helped me get. And that actually kind of emphasizes the whole story I just gave you, because at Gadenzia, the drug and alcohol treatment facility, I had started with one-on-one patient interaction. I didn't carry a caseload, but what I did have was like a lot of one-on-one interaction with them, supervised. I got to write treatment plans. I got to look at outcomes. I got to look at social service organizations. And then I liked it so much. And Tammy said, Tammy, I'm going to give you the plug here. She said, listen, you can stay with Gadenzia, but you're getting new learning. So I shifted to the policy end, and now I just worked on, billing, county organizations, county structures. So really, I just want to emphasize the I guess, diversity of the degree, and also just of the courses, the professors, the course loads. And certainly I realize the time's running, but you guys can feel free to reach out, or I can plug my emails, and if any personal questions I can help answer just from my experience. So
yeah, thank you. Nathan, you're using a word, Gadenzia? What is that?
Sorry, it's the name of a drug and alcohol treatment facility. They're a corporation, but they're a nonprofit. So and they're in Delaware, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. They stretch. So I figured some of the people in here that are not from our immediate area may know that.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's excellent. Great. Yeah, and Nathan, if you want to, you can feel free to drop your email into the chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's a great backstory. Very interesting. Sarah or Joshua, did you have anything to add?
Just so to kind of echo what Nathan said, I had 3 reasons that kind of steered me towards Bloomsburg University. One of those definitely being what Nathan said with the flexibility. Currently, I am working full-time, crazy hours. I do deal with being on call. So I might be working during the day, I might be working overnight. It all depends on what my program's needs are. But what was definitely hands down a big decision factor for me was them expressing how flexible they are. It definitely, like Nathan, coming into the program, I was scared. I was like, I signed up for this, but am I actually going to be able to do this? And not only do it, but am I going to come out with feeling like I am confident and ready to go into my field? And I can say for certain, it's absolutely amazing the amount of experience, opportunity, and education that I've received since July. The professors are so committed, extreme attention to detail from all faculty within this program since July. That one-on-one attention that you need. If you are struggling, you're going to have someone there to support you. And not only that, but the amount of opportunities that I received during my undergrad. So another one of those reasons I chose Bloom specifically was because I already trusted them. So the quality of education I received in my undergrad was incredible. It gave me the high quality education I needed to come out into the social work field, feeling confident, feeling competent, feeling ready to lead. And now coming back from my MSW, there's been an extreme focus on, there's been an extreme focus on kind of honing in on that leadership experience and pushing us to be ready to be leaders within our own communities and more on a macro level as well. So hands down, do not regret choosing Bloomsburg for my MSW program. I would definitely do it all over again. And I'm super sad to be graduating in May. I remember I went to an information session very similar to this, and an MSW student who had graduated the year prior within the first year had said, she's like, it sounds crazy, but she was a mom and had worked full time, and she was like, but it's very realistic and it's very doable. And hearing her say that as a mom who works full time, I was like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. And here we are almost at May, and I can't believe that we're almost done.
Okay, so to add my input, thanks for making me last because you guys covered a lot of what I was gonna say. I'm going to emphasize on flexibility because I was very intimidated coming into the program because I'm all alone, like not alone, but like I have been independent growing up, trying to make money, ends meet and all that. But unlike Sarah and Nathan's experience being full-time workers at one job, I work multiple jobs, and I still feel that though I work about 35 to 45 hours a week with 2 jobs, that's including my graduate assistantship, everything works out, just being able to plan, but just along with that flexibility, I think the support from the professors, like everybody's saying, I just wanted to elaborate that the support from everybody, the faculty and the professors, they give it to you. They give you a lot of support with what quality skills that you can build going into the future, with your papers, assignments, and so on. Like Nathan, I am definitely willing to answer questions. I know I don't have much time to talk, and I can't think of other things on my mind, but I think this program is amazing. So yeah, that's all I got to say.
No, that's good. Thank you. Thank you. And just real quick, I just wanted to back up. Oops, sorry about that. I'm going in the wrong direction. As you talk about recent alumni and career options, you can see some of the things that our most recent classes have done when they've left. And I know Joshua, Nathan, and Sarah will probably be going into careers that are adjacent to this. Tammy and Viviana, would you be able to speak to some of the career options that an MSW might be looking into as they graduate?
Well, these are some of the examples. This is our first graduated, our class that just graduated in May of I'm sorry, in December. They graduated in December of this past year. These are the areas they went into. Tammy mentioned that one of our students worked in athletics, and he is the one, and I have permission to disclose his name because I got this information. He is the one working as a mental health counselor at Colgate University. So that's just an example of something you could do with the MSW. He transitioned right into a college counseling job because his interest was working with college students. So really, Tom, there are just, so we could be here all night with me, and I can go on and on about all the positions that you can do. But just the diversity, one of the strengths of our program is, as Tammy was sharing, the diversity of our field placements. And if you don't know what you want to do with your MSW, that field placement is a great way to explore some options that you may want to pursue when you graduate. But I cannot emphasize enough the demand that we have in our current community and society for MSW, for the MSW degree.
Yeah, and so for Sarah, Joshua, and Nathan, what's your dream career? What's the end game here? You came back to get your MSW because you want to do this. Sarah.
Well, I think the reason I went for my MSW is because of how versatile the degree is, and not necessarily knowing specifically what I want upon graduation. So having that, I have a couple, interests, but throughout this specialization year, I've really been trying to hone that in and figure out exactly what I want. I do think I've definitely developed a way deeper learning for education than I ever thought I would throughout the last year. So I am interested in keep on going, potentially maybe going for my PhD, but again, lots to do in between then and now. So not sure yet, but have some ideas.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate that. Joshua.
So I aspire to be a program developer, program developer, some kind of director of some kind of services for people that don't have a lot. Just talking about a little bit of my backstory, I didn't grow up with a lot. And so I empathize with the people that live in poverty and don't have much to have someone to advocate for them. So I just think it's important to me coming into the MSW program, especially that is my goal in the social work program, that I've reviewed like jobs that you are required to have an MSW to do something like that. And I've seen that a lot of social work focused jobs are like having an MSW opens so many more opportunities than just having a BSW. So that's where I'm at.
So kind of like Sarah, basically, you went back to open up options.
Yes.
To have some, that's good to know. That's good to know. Yeah, because that's one thing. Social work is kind of like accounting, in that like every organization has accountants, right? Like you might be doing accounting, but it might be in a number of different sectors, and that might change kind of the job or the population you're working with. Social work, I guess, is somewhat similar to that. It's not often you see accountants and social work and social workers in the same sentence, but the profession is like that, in that like you're doing social work, your title is that, right? But you can apply that to any number of organizations in any state in America, and you're going to be in high demand. So that's great to hear. And Nathan.
So I saw a question earlier, and I'm going to try to bridge these answers. I, as a county administrator, I get to oversee human services agencies. I get to oversee elections, taxes, but the human services are really a home for me. But what actually got me started was working with the prison population. So I got involved with working with mental health patients who are in prisons, and we can go into the history of that at some other time. But really just the way to blend those things. And my dream job is, I think I'm in it, but what I would love to do is get into the clinical side of things too, and be able to establish my own private practice. And to bridge it with some of the questions is, the professors have a huge difference of experiences. I mean, some of them specialize in aging, others specialize in drug and alcohol, sex and sexuality. I really, I mean, those are just three that stick out. I mean, there's a ton of experience. And I think you're going to find too that the students are the same way. I mean, we're all so different, and we challenge each other regularly, and we're encouraged to challenge each other, but we're also really encouraged to question each other and question ourselves, and just get to learn about ourselves, the program, and each other. So yeah, that my dream job is really, I love being a county administrator. I would love to get into clinical work, but this program has helped me explore all those avenues, is what I want to emphasize.
Yeah, that's great. Great. Thank you, Nathan. And that's a great way to kind of display and Nathan, I think you actually mentioned this earlier, you will not only get breadth, but also depth in the things that you are particularly interested in. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great to hear. And then that brings us to the most fun part before we get back into the student panel discussion, is the application and admission process. And Viviana or Tammy.
So quickly, the difference between the applications is when you apply, as I said, if you're not sure if you're eligible, if you have a BSW and you're close to the GPA, or you have the GPA, I would highly recommend you apply to the advanced standing option. We will evaluate from there. We can always, because we have that personalized attention, either I or Dr. Dunlap will reach out to you and talk to you about your application. But this is the application for the application is online. You're going to have to submit your transcripts. The goal statement, this is very important. Follow the prompts in the application online. You will see the prompts that are given to you that you're going to be asked questions to specifically answer. One of them is, why did you choose social work, for example? And for those of you that were in my undergrad classes, they are going to ask you about the social work values and connecting it. So there's a few questions. Make sure you follow the prompts, your resume, and your letters of recommendation. If you are applying to, here's where the difference is between regular admission and advanced standing. In advanced standing, yes, we have you have to have the BSW, the GPA of 3.2. But again, I'll stress again, don't let that stop you. Apply anyway. Your letters of recommendation, at least one of them has to be from a social work faculty member. And you will be required to submit your last field evaluation. Now, if you are currently a senior and you have not gotten your field evaluation, that's okay, because I'm the one looking at your application, and I will know when I see that you're still enrolled, that you are still in your senior year. So don't worry about that. So that's I know we have a rush for time, but my contact information is also up there. My contact information is up there. Dr. Dunlap's contact information, Tammy's contact information is up. So feel free to reach out. And Nathan, Sarah, and Josh have offered their contact information. So I mean, that's just very generous of you to do that. Thank you. I think, is there, so if you have any questions, Talitha, I would encourage you to reach out to us. I'm happy to talk to you. We can schedule a time to talk, and I can go through. I would love to talk to you, actually, Talitha. One, I'd love to meet you, and two, I would just love to answer all your questions. So please feel free to reach out to me, and we'll schedule a time. And I promise I will respond to you when you email me. So please contact me.
Yeah, and that's first of all, Talitha, your questions have been outstanding. So because I'm sure you're not the only person asking. So that's great. And I would encourage, this is a great time to get your questions answered in live time. We have faculty, we have current students. So if you've got anything, please feel free to ask. I'm available to stay as late as you need. But I know one of the questions that came up, which I think is really interesting, and I know was answered in the chat, but for anyone who didn't see the chat, or for anyone who's watching the recording, is that of faculty expertise, right? Because part of when you go to grad school is you want to hopefully be able to specialize in a certain area. Tammy and Viviana, would you be able to speak to some of the faculty expertise that's on the team?
We all have field experience. Prior to teaching, we were all social workers out in the field and with diverse backgrounds. It's just, I think Tammy summed it up very nicely in the chat. We either have drug and alcohol, mental health, crisis intervention, medical social work. I mean, it's all, she did Tammy, you must type really fast. I could not have typed all that. We all have MSWs. Some of us are LSWs, some of us are CSWs, and some of us have PhDs, some of us have DSWs, and so we have a wealth of experience on this faculty.
Great. And
I don't know,
Viviana,
Tammy, you want to add to that?
Viviana, care. So what is your area? Like, what is your research specialty? Like,
So I research substance use disorders, and I research specifically between delivery of services with minority populations.
okay.
My most recent study was on opioid use disorder and the effects it has on the differences between men and women. The one I'm working on right now is a similar model, but with drug and alcohol. And I look to see, to explore the barriers between men, women, and minority population in accessing treatment services.
Wow, that's great.
Did I put you to sleep?
No,
You
no,
guys,
no,
if you
no.
ever have a hard time sleeping, I just
No.
give Nathan a copy of my article.
No, all this is really, really important. You know, I realize I'm still sharing my screen. Sorry about that. No, I think that's really interesting because they're all really important topics too that affect, you know, everyday lives for people living in the country. So for the students in the group, then please keep the questions coming. This is more of a general question. What's your favorite class that you've taken in the MSW so far, and why? Sarah? You only get one. None of this, oh, I like them all. You get one.
I'm not just saying this because she's here, but my social inequalities, identities and inequalities, I think that's what it was called. Hands down, not only my favorite class in my master's, but my favorite class that I've ever taken, ever.
Wow.
So, and not only because of how interesting, I think it's a good time to comment to the style of the class. So whereas you might be used to that lecture style classroom, the MSW program does not do that. So it gives you that chance to sit in a circle with your cohorts, with your peers, and talk about problems, really bring everyone's background and experiences together, and, you know, learn things that you maybe didn't know before because someone else has a different experience. So definitely my favorite class, because we, even though a lot of us were from the same backgrounds, talking about how we are from the same backgrounds and how we can kind of address that better to make more of a difference in society was really, really interesting. So that was
no, that's a great answer. And Sarah, in fact, before we get to Joshua and Nathan, you kind of mentioned like kind of the dynamic in the classroom versus what it might have been like as an undergrad. What is the class climate like in your courses? And I'm not really talking about the temperature, more or less, like, right, you walk in the class, you sit down. I'm assuming it's more discussion based. It's not really, you know, going into theory. It's more like applying the things that you learn or working on projects. Is that safe to say?
Oh yeah, and
okay.
You know, even before the professor gets in the room, it's all the cohorts sitting together, and we're like, "How was that paper? How was the, you know, how did we do on that?" And just kind of getting everyone's opinion of like, okay, well, I'm glad that we all kind of, you know, grouped together in this and felt this way, and this is how we'll do it better the next time. And then, you know, when the professor comes in, it's still kind of that same dynamic of like, okay, let's all have a conversation about now this week's topic instead. And I think because we all have a passion for social work, for social change, for making a difference.
Yes.
It doesn't feel like I'm in class from 5 p.m. till 9 p.m. 2 days a week. It flies. And I actually look forward to class, even after a long day at work. I do look forward to going to class, to engaging with my cohorts, and to leave learning something and actually feeling like, man, that was not a waste of my time. And so, yeah.
Wow. That's profound. Yeah, great topics. And that's the other thing about grad school too is, all right, so like in high school, K through 12, you take, again, a very wide variety of courses. You go to college, it gets more specific, but you're still taking general education requirements. You know, you're taking 120 credits. Not all of them are going to be part of your major. When you go to grad school, every class you take is going to be dedicated to your area of interest. So I found for me, as I progressed in my education, I liked high school. I liked my undergrad experience a little more. I love grad school because I took things on just the things that were going to prepare me for my career and the things that I was passionate about. So, Sarah, you kind of touched on that. That's a great point. Thank you, Joshua.
My favorite class probably was the drug and alcohol class that I took in the fall, primarily because it was a blended class with BSW students, and that gave us the opportunity to become leaders for those BSW students and show them a little bit of like how the MSW program or the MSW dynamic is a little bit different, and how they kind of like see us as leaders and how we discuss some things. I just like seeing that I can step up to the plate sometimes.
Yeah. No, that's super interesting. Thank you. Nathan.
So I know you said one, but they're tied, and I gotta do it. So I loved
All right.
Leadership was my favorite applicable class. It was really intense. Policy is my favorite theoretical class because you get such like this huge range, and it's like, listen, hone in on any policy you want, and then you gotta hone in on that and hone in, and then you do research all semester, and then you present it, and they're just very different. Because leadership, I was able to take it and apply it at work right away, and policy, it's like you have to really dedicate yourself to this whole process and then go through the pieces of it. So those were just two of my favorites.
That's good. So Nathan, I've heard you talk about policy a lot tonight. When you say social work policy, can you give us some examples of what that means for those of us, basically myself, who are wondering?
Yeah. So like we talked a lot about like drug and alcohol, sex and sexuality. Tammy actually helped me with come up with a policy project when I was the elections director, and I'll just openly say I'm in a heavily Republican county. So politics aside, we had an issue where on the ground some people were voting, and they had their identification challenged because they were trans. Now in our county, it was maybe 4 or 5 people, but it's enough to be a problem. So I worked with Tammy and I said, listen, I'm in a position where I can do something about this. I really want to make it non-controversial. I want to just address this. So we actually went into our elections handbook, and I worked with Tammy and with the then county administrator, and we started treating in Northumberland County transgender identification as somebody who may have gotten married. So they still have received the opportunity to vote, but then you move it over like a name change. You just give them a form and say, here, just change your name on your voter record, and then you can go by your preferred name. So the social work part of that was because to me, I'm just like, this is easy. Let's just implement it and be done with it. And Tammy and Dr. Lukaveci can tell you that's usually my approach. But what we really then ended up digging into, and Tammy helped guide me through, was the voter experience. Because to me, I implemented this new policy. We came from the top down elections office, but the voter then came in, and rather than being challenged on their identification, rather than having to go through all this stuff to justify it, their whole experience changed. They came in the next time they were able to vote with their preferred name. And so that's just like one very distinct policy thing that we were able to directly impact. Yeah,
that's fascinating. Because again, policy is not just something that lives on a sheet of paper or in a Word document, right? This is going to impact people's day-to-day lives. That's very profound. That's a great example. Thank you, Nathan. Next question, and let me see if we have anything from the group here, is the field experience. So can you speak to the field experience, the field experiences that you've engaged in so far, and kind of walk us through a day in the life if possible? Sarah?
So I think Tammy mentioned it briefly, but I'm doing my internship at my current job. So that was a massive relief for me in the beginning when going through picking my internship. I didn't quite know how I was going to balance working full-time, working 14 to 18 hours at another position, while also going to school at night. So I'm doing a work-based internship, but it doesn't mean that I haven't been given lots of opportunities to step out of my regular position and engage in opportunities that I'm not doing every day. So some of those things that, aside from my normal job, so I do day to day would be supervising staff and scheduling and hiring and all of that stuff. But stepping outside of that, I've been able to get more into the macro level of the company. So editing policies and procedures that are company-wide, making the language of those policies and procedures more inclusive. And some other things would be creating company-wide trainings for mental health residential, not only staff and employees, but also the residents and clients that we serve. So last semester, I did training on developing deeper understandings of schizophrenia, incorporating different social work perspectives in our day-to-day work with the people that we serve. So definitely taking it more out of my micro role and stepping into the larger jobs that the company has to offer.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. So, and again, just to be clear, so if you are a person who's working full time, it sounds like, and again, you can hear, from someone like Sarah or Nathan or Joshua, some of which are working multiple jobs and are still able to complete the program, not only the coursework, but also the field, experiences, while also working. So this is a program that you could do either as a full-time student or as a full-time employee. So I think that's awesome to hear. And Nathan, you came off mute there. Do you have something to add?
I just wanted to say that, listen, the program is doable, but we're not saying it's always easy. And the professors are really good at leveling with us about that too, because there are days when the professors are putting in 12-hour days, I believe. And there's times when they come in and work in the morning and they go straight through to the evening. So you're not alone. And everybody, there's times where we're all sitting there at 9 o'clock and we're tired, we're ready to go. People drive in. So it's not the easiest thing, but it's very doable. I mean, and your field placement is huge in that. Tammy came off mute too. Like, Tammy, you helped us find specific ones in our own communities. Some people needed virtual, some people needed hybrid, and that's something that can be worked on as long as you're able to communicate what those needs are.
And I'm sorry, just real quick, Tammy, before you go, just so everyone knows, there are no easy graduate degrees, right? School gets progressively harder as you go forward, right? It's only going to get harder. Now, again, the caveat there is it gets more enjoyable because you like it, right? But it is going to be more work, and there are no easy degrees. But that is a good point, though, Nathan. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tammy.
I was just going to say, I think, and Viviana, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the majority of our students are working, and most of them are working full time. We have a few that work part-time, one who's a parent, different circumstances, but I would say the majority of our students are working at least part-time, if not full-time.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So Tasha, I see your message in there. So I'm glad we circled back to that. And again, for anyone who has questions about that work-life balance or what this looks like what is the path forward, please don't hesitate to follow up with any of us after this. Especially Tammy, Viviana, and I, we work for you. And we're happy to do that. So please, again, I think our contact information is in the chat. Please do not hesitate to contact us. And actually, I think Nathan and Joshua and Sarah also put their contact information in there as well as to be a point of contact. Again, just honestly, just being good social workers, putting yourself out there, being willing to help. So that's great. Thank you. Joshua, do you have anything to add about your field experiences? And by the way, when we say field experience, I hear some people calling internship. Are they the same thing in this case? Basically?
Yes.
Okay.
Technically no, but yes. Yeah. There's a difference with there's some differences with academic language, but for the purpose of this discussion, yes, they are the same.
All right, great. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead, Joshua.
The only thing I had to add is, I guess what I've already said is, I work as a graduate assistant, which helps me get 2 of my classes paid per semester, along with getting the stipend for working 20 hours on campus. As my goals are to work more in a macro setting, working with impoverished and oppressed communities. I think working as an advocate for the LGBTQ Center is very helpful, especially that I do a lot of programming and trainings for advocating for students that identify as LGBTQ. I think, that's a good snippet.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's super helpful. Thank you. Nathan.
I didn't have anything to add. I'm sorry.
No, okay. That's okay. No, that's great. Let me see. So I know we're getting a lot of questions about the application and admission process. That's awesome. That means that, you all are interested in taking the next step. Sorry, Viviana, go ahead.
I'm just going to answer one of the questions. I'm not a fast typist. I'm going to answer one of the questions about the GPA requirement. I would just encourage you to apply. We look at the application as a whole. So I just encourage you to apply.
Yeah, it's a holistic admission review process,
Mhm.
right? So there's, a transcript isn't always going to show everything that, that would indicate whether or not a student would be successful or not, right? And honestly, if you have more specific questions, you can feel free to reach out offline. But no, we're happy to kind of talk with you about what the options might be. But again, the transcript isn't going to be the end all be all, but it will be an important part of the process. But lo and behold, it will not be the only part that does get reviewed. But these are all outstanding questions. Viviana and Tammy, and actually Sarah, Nathan, and Joshua as well. Do you have any questions, or not questions? Do you have any recommendations for students right now who are looking to increase their likelihood of gaining admission to the MSW program? Like whether they're an undergrad or they're working full time, do you have any suggestions about take this class or try to do an internship or work on a personal statement, or any recommendations at all?
All of those.
Okay, all the above.
Okay. For those students that are concerned about the GPA, we certainly do. I mean, we do count GPA, of course, but that's just one metric in the entire application process. Before you submit your essay, I would encourage you, I'm going to sound very much like a professor, make sure you review it, make sure someone else reviews it, make sure because that is something that we pay close attention to. Your letters of reference as well. We read everything. So because we're a small program, we do look at every component of your application, but I cannot, and apply earlier. Josh has a GA ship. So if you are looking to get a GA, when you start the program, to assist you with paying for the program, I would certainly encourage you to apply sooner rather than later.
Okay.
I think, may I add something to
that?
Oh,
yeah, please do.
So when we first started, I gave this great experience of like all the work experience I've done in my undergrad. So something that came with that, and I think everybody in the comments is going to be sympathetic to this, 2 majors and a minor, and I was working 3 jobs at the time. My GPA was not great in undergrad, and that was one of the issues I had with my undergrad advisors. But I think I had like a 3.0. Like it wasn't abysmal, but it wasn't like the 3.5 or whatever. So when I spoke with Dr. Dunlap, he said, listen, you really need to emphasize this experience. And I think with your application processes with that GPA, don't fluff it, be genuine. We want to, I'm sorry, I'm acting like I'm on the admissions committee. But they want to know, and we all wrote, what is your story? What's the interest? I mean, that's really a huge part of it. And that, at least it was for me to come in. So I know a lot of people hone in, and that's why I kind of jumped in there too, because a lot of people hone in on those very specific numbers and like, great, I blew it, I'm not going to get here, I blew these courses, and that's not the case. And I'm proof of that. So I just wanted to offer that there was some real examples of that.
No, that's very helpful. Yeah, that's a great perspective. Thank you, Nathan. Great. Are there any questions that are left unanswered at this point? And again, I know we answered a lot towards the beginning. Let me just go through, make sure we didn't miss anything here. You know what? And actually, Tammy and Viviana, would you be able to speak to for a student who doesn't have a bachelor's degree in social work, what is the transition process like for a student starting in the MSW? If they had a degree in psych or communications or art or business, what's the transition process like that first semester?
Well, I think Nathan is better qualified to answer that, the transition, not to pick on Nathan. I can tell you as a professor, but I think the students would prefer to hear it from another student. I mean, in our first year, I think we're very thoughtful and careful in how we schedule the courses to make sure we provide students with that social work foundation that they're going to need to prepare. Nathan mentioned that they are now all combined. So the advanced year is combined with that foundation year. And that's very intentional and purposeful because they've completed that foundation and now they can merge. And there isn't a gap. I don't think there's a gap. I think they're all very highly skilled students and dedicated. So, but Nathan, maybe you can add to that.
Sure. So I had first met, I'm going to start with another candid story. So I first met with Dr. Dunlap, and I said, listen, my undergrads are in political science and psychology, and that's social work. And he said, well, there's where you're wrong. So really those first couple courses, especially as a generalist student, I don't want to say you unlearn, but you learn a new style and how to incorporate a new style of what social work actually is. You know, I think a lot of times we think social work is like, okay, I'm going to go help people, and it's really much more complex and in depth than that. And as a new student, when I came in, the first 4 courses were great. You learned about people and their environments. You learned about how systems work. You learn how people function. You learn about social service agencies, discrimination, and you learn about all these kind of background issues that you may not have considered before. So it's definitely doable. There are some people, I think one of the people in my original cohort is there's a criminal justice and business, and I think there's actually a computer science degree in there. So we had a big plethora of undergrad degrees in ours. So definitely doable again, and merging with the cohorts then was really honestly, that's been the coolest part of my experience too, because we merged with the first advanced and now we merged with the second advanced because we were the first generalists, and we just got to see all kinds of different experiences in the undergrad degrees.
Great, thank you. So as we move to wrap up the event, one final question for the group before we sign off here. Any advice, or is there anything you wish you had known prior to starting the MSW? It could be academic, could be personal, could be social. Like, I wish I had known, to organize my day like this, or I wish I had known to carve out this time for homework, or, I mean, it could be literally anything, because there's such a wide variety of students that enter the program that they're either full-time students or they're working full-time. Or any advice? I know it's very, very broad. Tammy.
Oh, you were asking us.
Yes.
Show up, be present. And when I say show up, I don't just mean put your body in a seat. Be present. And from the beginning, I think it goes back to some of what Nathan was just saying about really being able to embrace the learning and the understanding and being able to apply things across the board. That advice that Dr. Dunlap gave to him at the beginning, that, those words of wisdom that, okay, yeah, that's not social work. You have a lot to learn. But come in with an open mind, come in and recognize that that we are in the program because we want to be there, and we want the students that are in those chairs to walk out with knowledge and experience that they didn't have before they got there. We aren't just there because, for whatever reason. We're there because we want them to learn. And I think you have to be open to that as a student.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you, Viviana.
I would say, don't be afraid to think outside the box, challenge yourselves, push yourselves, think creatively, because if you're in my class, I will push you to do that anyway. Take chances, take risks. I think we all want, I want you to have fun as you learn. I want this to be an experience for you, and more than just getting the degree. I want you to remember this experience and have a great learning experience. So I agree with everything Tammy says, and I would just add, don't be afraid to be creative. Don't be afraid to think outside the box.
Great, thank you. Sarah.
I think to go off of that too, don't be afraid to take the jump. I think for the last 2 years, I was saying, oh, there's going to be a better time. I just have to get through this and then I'll go back to school. So don't be afraid to take the jump. I don't think there's ever going to be a perfect time for you to add something as big as taking on a master's program to your schedule. But, not being afraid, taking that risk, I don't regret it at all.
So just take that first step. Don't be intimidated by it. Take the first step.
Yeah.
That's good advice. Joshua.
I say it's perfectly normal to be nervous, but I think going into the program, I was overly nervous for no reason. A lot of what we said tonight is just accurate information about how flexible everybody is, how your schedule will work out at some point, just timing and planning really helps with your whole transition into it. It may be hard at first, but you will do it. And all 11 of us right now in this cohort is really it seems like that everybody's really into it, really well.
Mhm. Yeah, we tend to suffer a lot more imagined problems. We suffer a lot more in the anticipation. Yep, that's a good point, Joshua. And last but not least, Nathan.
So I think what everybody said is good. Just some practical visitation, or to visit some practical things. Your assignments, your rubrics, your syllabi are given to you in the beginning. You have plenty of time to plan, look at your calendar, schedule, talk to your professors if something's not working. I will openly say that I've given up a few Saturdays during the program. But there's really nothing better than starting a paper on a Saturday morning, getting it done by Saturday evening, and being like, oh my gosh, I have this whole Sunday now. I don't know what I'm going to do with it.
That's right.
But my final thing is if you have children, if you have partners, your friends, make sure you have a strong support system going in, because there are going to be times where it gets rough. You're going to be able to lean on your classmates, your professors. But sometimes you just need people to vent to talk to. And I think if you don't have those people, that you'll find them very quickly within the program.
Great, thank you. So that kind of concludes the event. Again, thank you so much for for everybody, thank you so much to everybody for joining us tonight. I know we went for a little bit longer than 45 minutes, which I think was my original anticipation there. But so thank you for sticking with us. For anyone who joined us live or is watching the recording, if you have questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. We're happy to help in any way that we can, and we look forward to hearing from everybody in the future. Okay, everybody.
Thank you.
you.